Alright, it's a bright and new day. Day 2 of the Innistrad Championship starting here, and we're starting out with historic. In my time it is this the same day as the last video I posted, but the magic of post editing. And I'm up against a doozy here, so if you've all watched the tournament, or at least like read the coverage, and in some fashion, you might have noticed that Black Green Food, especially by the Japanese team, was like talk of the tournament. They really dominated the historic rounds, and I'm up against now Kenji Tsumura, Japanese Hall of Famer, with their black and green list, their tightly tuned Black Green Food list here. So that's pretty scary. I mean, at this point, I don't know that this is the deck that's going to crush the tournament. All I know is that I actually feel like I'm slightly advantaged against it with Heliod. So that is all right. But there are a few differences in this deck that are worth noting. I already talked in my last match against Meathook Massacre or against the Black Green Food deck, that Meathook Massacre means that you have to be really careful with your Soul Warden and Luminarch veterans. And basically, the food deck's game plan is to try and like fatal push your life gain effects like Voice and Tredacera, and then use Meathook Massacre to clear up all the Soul Sisters. So you're not allowed to play more than one out at a time, so that you don't get a 2-for-1 with the Meathook Massacre, usually. So that's one, heuristic for this matchup. This deck has Shambling Gas too, which actually, when it dies, can kill a Luminarch Veteran or a Soul Warden. So that's something else to keep an eye out for, that actually this version actually has more answers for those. And if you can set it up so that you get a counter on one with Heliod, that's actually a pretty big game, because it shuts off Shambling Ghast's ability to kill your Soul Warden. So that's another thing I need to be careful of. And lastly, this version actually has 2 Mystic Repeal in the sideboard. Put target enchantment on the bottom of its owner's library. This is one of the rare ways that you can defeat a Heliod. So this team definitely came prepared to fight against the Heliod decks with these Mystic Repeals, and maybe also the Shambling Ghast are here for that reason. So that's something to be aware of, that they actually can answer Heliod, which is definitely the best card in the matchup, like it is in every matchup, both part of your plan A and plan B. But anyway, I'm still gonna, my main goal is to try and combo. He doesn't actually have that many answers for the combo, especially if I get it with a Johnny's Welcome. Like, there's no answers to enchantments in the main deck. So Johnny's Welcome and Heliod are both safe, and then he only has the 4 fatal pushes, which even need to be revolted to kill the tree. So there are definitely chances where I can set up the combo, and that is why I do feel like I'm advantaged in the matchup, is because of a Johnny's Welcome specifically. And the fact that I can sometimes get to pressure them from multiple angles, and sometimes bait out the Meathook Massacre when I wanted to. So yeah, but the Mystic Repeals definitely make it closer. And obviously the fact that it's Kenji Tsumura makes it closer as well. So let's see how it played out here. I realized I forgot to put on the background music, huh? Alright, well, let's do that while this one is rolling in. So here we have a one-lander, which, sometimes I'm on a draw here, so like it's actually not unreasonable for me to keep this hand if this Plains was a Timber Garden specifically. Because I have my Heliod, I have my Johnny's Welcome, and I have my Tredacera to scry me into more lands. So I actually think the upside of keeping this hand is good enough. But there are only 13 green sources in the deck. So the fact that if I draw just a regular Plains, and then bring on Landlord for a few turns, I'm just going to be so far behind that I don't think I can risk that. But if this was a Temple Garden, I would have kept this hand. So just worth noting, even though it's on 7. Alright, there we go. Background music secured. So we mulligan into this hand that is not very interesting. Hold on, let me actually go back so I can comment on the exact structure here. Yeah, so this is the hand we end up keeping. Usually I would like to mulligan to a payoff, like a Heliod, a Company, one of our 2-drops. This hand doesn't have that, but the deck doesn't mulligan too well, so you can't just mulligan aggressively for that. Like, you really need a lot of pieces, so just going to 5 doesn't really help you much. I decided to put a Selfless Savior on the bottom here, which I think it's basically like Selfless Savior doesn't help against Shambling Ghast anyway, and I think it is the weakest card. I keep the Scurry Oak so that if I draw a Heliod, I have the combo lined up. And the Skyclave Apparition is really good for hitting specifically the Trail of Crumbs, or maybe the Squirrels, which kind of means that their engine is harder to set up. So I think that the Skyclave Apparition has a lot of value in the matchup as well. So the fact that Selfless Savior only works against Fatal Push and gets swept up by Meathook Massacre, I think it is the thing to put on bottom. Drawing on a Giannis Welcome here is pretty nice. It's not great, but at least it means that I can play out, you know, a Soul Warden now and have 2 life gain effects in play and not fear to get blown out by Meathook Massacre. So that's actually a really big deal. And yeah, again, like, you know, Kenji's deck cannot answer the Welcome in the main deck. So there's a Trail of Crumbs, which is definitely answered by my Apparition. I kind of expected to get hit by, hold on, actually, I think I made it too fast. All right, here we go. So yeah, I'm gonna hit the Trail of Crumbs, but I kind of expect there to be a Deadly Dispute, and lo and behold, here we see Deadly Dispute. So opponent is definitely like up on cards here. And I'm, you know, I don't have anything good going on. Like, I need to draw something good here, like a Company or a Heliod or anything. But at least the fact that I have, you know, all these life gain effects means that a lot of my top decks are actually going to be very potent. So like a Voice of the Blessed, for instance, won't just be a 3/3. Like, it'll actually be pretty big, and I can make it big very quickly. And turn it into, you know, the flying threat it is. So that's the advantage of having all these life gain effects. But the disadvantage, of course, is that they don't do anything by themselves, and if you play too many of them out, then, you know, they just get swept up by Meathook Massacre. So pretty tame turn here, like not much is developed, and I draw a Voice of the Blessed. So I'm thinking that Kenji must have a bit of a reactive hand. Maybe he has another Deadly Dispute, or maybe he has Meathook Massacre. That also is very reasonable for him to have here, since he hasn't really played out anything proactively. So I draw Voice of the Blessed, which I can immediately make a 4/4 just by the things that are in play. But I actually think that I make a mistake this turn. Because the issue here is that I'm thinking about Meathook Massacre, and that is why I don't want to play out my Lunark Veteran, because then my opponent can sweep up both my life gainers. But I think the fact that I have a Giannis Welcome kind of changes this paradigm a little bit, and you don't actually need to commit as hardly to, like, there is this heuristic of don't play 2 Soul Wardens out, or like don't play 2 life gain guys out against the Meathook Massacre decks. But when you have a Giannis Welcome, well, it's not as much of a risk, because I'll still keep at least 1 life gain in play afterwards. However, actually in this scenario, because Kenji has 5 mana right now, going into 6 mana on his next turn, he can actually go Meathook Massacre for X equals 4. Which right now will clear my Soul Warden and my Voice. And right now the Voice is the most important card, because that's like my win condition here. So, in fact, I would rather have a Voice in play than a Lunark Veteran in my hand. So I'm actually supposed here to play out the Lunark Veteran, because I have a Giannis Welcome, which will then grow the Voice to a 6/6. And get out of range. Obviously, he can still die to Fatal Push, but he has to find it. Instead, I don't play it out here, and yeah, I think that is actually a pretty big mistake. That, yeah, you should be careful of not doing the same thing. We'll see here, though. At this moment, I'm not really thinking that I left myself vulnerable to that. So Kenji is thinking a lot here at the end of turn. He has the ability to activate Squirrel, but if he does that, he gives up his Treasure. So that's actually a pretty relevant decision. But he might also have, you know, a very low action hand. And activating like the Oven and then sacrificing the food to the Squirrel and sacrificing the Treasure in that instance actually makes the Squirrel pretty big. So that is a very reasonable line to take here. So he ends up drawing a few cards, and now he has a full stacked hand, but right now he can't go Meathook Massacre unless he has specifically Friction Tower. Which, attacks with the Squirrel here, I don't think I can afford to block, because if he has another Deadly Dispute, sacrificing the Oven, well, yeah, I'm just gonna get blown out. But there is the Tower, and, okay, well, now that Squirrel is getting sacrificed, I know what's going on here. That's definitely a Meathook Massacre. So I think Kenji didn't have it, but was looking for it, and ended up finding it. So now, we just have no gas left, right? And this is the issue with my line, is that, well, Kenji didn't even need to have a Fatal Push. he could still clear off my board. Whereas if I had done it the other way around, like, yeah, he would have been able to cast the Meathook Massacre and clear out the small things and keep his squirrel. But he would still be staring down this, like, big lifelink flyer that I could trigger multiple times with Scurry Oaks. I could bring back Lunak Veteran from the graveyard. And he would still need to find that Fatal Push. Otherwise, he would end up dying to the Voice. And even a chance that I could eventually get it to Indestructible, at which point it is impossible for Kenji to get it off the board. So now I just have to lay out a Scurry Oak. I'm still holding my Veteran. I don't want to... actually, at this point, it's not as much that I'm playing around Meathook Massacre, because I kind of want him to just sweep away this excess Scurry Oak and my Lunak Veteran, since I still have Ajani's Welcome. But if I draw Heliod here, Heliod would not by itself trigger anything, because it's not a creature. There's not enough devotion. So I'd actually need another thing to trigger my Ajani's Welcome to start the combo. So that's actually the main reason I hold Veteran in my hand here, is so that a top deck Heliod means that I would be able to combo immediately. It's very important to think about that too, like setting up your, life gain effects for your good draws. Or even just drawing a Trelasera or something, just having like extra ways to gain life is important. Oh, well, there's a company. Let's see if we can hit. Can we hit a Heliod? Yes! Oh man, okay, well, he might still have a Fatal Push here, and sacrifice the Ranger Captain doesn't do much, but he just let that happen, and it seems like he's very much F6'd, so, yeah, well, okay, that was easy. Pretty nice top deck there, and Kenji was probably flooding out a bit, I would assume, like didn't have much pressure, or much card draw, or much, interaction, so, yeah, he probably just had a bunch of lands, I'm assuming. Anyway, Disciple plan is the same as last time. We're boarding in some Asharns, some Apparitions, Rest in Peace, and we can take out the Selfless Saviors and the Ranger Captains, and a land. I don't think that his Shambling Ghasts and, what are they called? Mystic Repeals make it so that I need to sideboard differently for that reason. They're just important to be aware of, at least in how you play. And the castle is usually pretty important in this matchup, because the games can go quite long, so it actually is relevant. So I'm just giving this one extra look over. By the way, only boarding out a land on the draw. There's also an argument that you don't need all these Skyclave Apparitions in your deck. I think on the play, I just have 3 copies of them and have the land instead. So, just like these small differences that you can make. It's not like the Rest in Peace is lights out against them, but just like shutting off the Cat Oven definitely matters, and shutting off Lurus too, and making sure that the Meathook Massacre and the Shambling Ghast don't trigger when things die. So, it actually has a lot of uses. Anyway, this is a really nice hand. Ajani's Welcome and Heliod. With another Soul Warden and another payoff. So that's exactly what I want to see. Drawing a second Heliod here is like, normally that would not be great, but it's actually really nice to have that insurance against Thoughtseize or Mystic Repeal. Very happy to see that. What I'm not happy to see here is the Shambling Ghast. It means that this Soul Warden is going to be very vulnerable. And now there's a Liberator as well, which the Liberator can answer the Ajani's Welcome, and the Shambling Ghast can easily answer my Soul Warden. So now I have to play pretty carefully to make sure that doesn't happen. I draw a Trelasera and decide that I would rather Scry here than anything else. Things I would like to draw are potentially a Skyclave Apparition to get rid of the Shambling Ghast, so that I can land a Soul Warden, or maybe just like another Ajani's Welcome, or potentially a Company. I need a little bit of stuff here, but I'm actually not sure that it's better to play Trelasera over Voice here, honestly, because again, a lot of things I would Scry to the top here. Even a land is not that bad of a draw. So maybe I'm actually just supposed to play Voice and get that started. Because the issue with Trelasera is that it's very easy for this deck to jump block, whereas they can't really jump block the Voice. And Voice would lead to an active Heliod. So, for example, here we see a Skyclave Apparition, and I kind of want to keep that, I guess. If he taps out of the Liberator, which I expect that he's not going to tap out here, but if he does, then I can just hit that with my Apparition. He does have a Squirrel here that could also be a potential target, and a tap land. So yeah, kind of a tame turn here, but it is what it is. The question is if I run out my Heliod here or my Apparition. And I think just getting the Heliod going as fast as possible. This also means that I can set up, like if my opponent now taps out so that he can't sacrifice the Shambling Ghast, I can go Soul Warden into Voice of the Blessed and put a counter on my Soul Warden. That's really where I want to be. So I need the Heliod in play to set up that line where I get a counter on my Soul Warden. I'm expecting him, however, end of turn to just sacrifice the Liberator to kill Johnny's Welcome. No point in attacking with Trelasera, because I can just get jumped anyway. But at least I don't want many card advantage engines, and I can Skyclave Apparition the squirrel here, so that might be a good situation for me. Yeah, just a tap land. It becomes Knight, but that's not really relevant now. So I would love to be able to just play Soul Warden and Skyclave Apparition, but I can't, because he'll just sacrifice the Champion Ghast and kill my Soul Warden. So I'm trying to bait out. Like maybe he'll block and sacrifice and make a treasure. That doesn't happen right here. So I'm thinking that I just want to play the Skyclave Apparition. It also adds some devotion to my board, which I think is pretty nice here. And maybe this will lead him to go... He's probably going to sacrifice the squirrel here. Or maybe he's sacrificing the Champion Ghast. I would expect not. Yeah, sacrificing the squirrel itself. And this might lead him to Meathook Massacre, which is great for me, because then I can go Soul Warden, voice, put a counter on Soul Warden. Just set up this play that I'm really looking for pretty much the entirety of this game. Alright, so here, the Lurosma just put in hand, and that's a very odd line, because that's just like not doing much, but it kind of is because it's rebuilding with these squirrels, so I think it actually makes sense for him to do this, and I probably should have given that more credit. But what I'm thinking here is that there might be Deadly Dispute to sacrifice the Champion Ghast. And I'm not really sure that's the case, but if it is the case, he might go to Chump Block here if I attack with both. So I'm gonna try and see, because you can actually gain life with Heliod in other ways. You can just give lifelink to something. So it's very possible that the way I'm supposed to approach this is just try and attack here, give lifelink to something, maybe bait out a removal spell, or at least make him tap low so that he can't sacrifice the Champion Ghast. And then land my Soul Warden, Voice of the Blast, because I have mana for that. Though I'm not actually sure, because it's very possible that the better line here is to go Soul Warden, Voice. He goes Deadly Dispute and kills my Soul Warden. And that's okay, because my Heliod is active. And I can just give lifelink to my Trelasera and attack for a whole lot of damage. And I can probably even get out of range. He would have Treasure. He would be able to cast it for X equals 5. Okay, so I guess actually I would just get blown out by... I would just get blown out by Meathook Massacre if I make that line. So maybe I can't do that. Because the Heliod would be active and I couldn't get anything up above 5. 5 toughness except for the Heliod itself, but I don't really care much about that one. So yeah, I think the best line here is to just try and pay patient, like he's paying patiently. Attack him with both here. It's very possible that he's willing to check Trump with a Champion Ghast, because he can just get it back with Lurus anyway next turn. He just goes no blocks. I'm gonna go Heliod, targeting the Skyclave Apparition. It's very possible I'm even supposed to target a Trelasera to like, even more so bait out the Fatal Push. So, alright, I see a castle on top. I think that's kind of like not what I need. But then I realized that actually what castle lets me do is that I can next turn play Soul Warden, play castle, and now I can at instant speed grow it to a 2/2. So that's actually a pretty big game. And for that reason I decided to just pass here. I'm not sure that's right compared to playing out the Voice, but the issue with Voice is that it animates my Heliod and it makes me vulnerable to like a Deadly Dispute into a Meathook Massacre. But on the other hand, I might need to put a little bit more pressure on him, so it's very possible that I just need to play out Voice here. Because if I'm gonna like pass with 5 mana up next turn, I don't have the time to develop this now. So, not sure. If he doesn't have the Deadly Dispute, he can't Meathook Massacre me unless he has Friction Tower, so... And I can still rebuild kinda with Soul Warden and Heliod, though it's not pretty. I won't have much at that point. I decided to wait a bit close to the chest here. I should probably also put the counter on this Apparition, honestly. But I think my reasoning is that I want to get the Trelasera out of range, is part of the reason. And the second part of the reason is that I just like really wanted him to Fatal Push my Trelasera, so that he would have been tapped out. Not tapped out completely, but tapped out of Deadly Dispute. So now he plays the Lurus, and yeah, he can start to rebuild a little bit. So it's really not great. And honestly, the issue here now is that now I have a very small window, because now like the Shambling Gas can get sacrificed and replayed again, so it will always be able to have this threat here. I can't just like bait it out once. So it's really important now that I try and get the count on my Soul Warden. I realized that the Soul Warden is the last devotion I need for my Heliod. I played a castle first, but honestly you're not supposed to do that, because no triggers go on the stack and I get priority immediately after resolving Soul Warden. But it's a very small thing. Anyway, I can safely attack with everything here. If he has the Deadly Dispute, that's probably fine. But realistically, it's gonna look more like this. So he's gonna end up taking a ton of damage here. And then, like, once he goes to kill my Soul Warden, I can make a human. So, like, now the Shambling Geist is gone. And now he can't respawn by sacrificing it, because it's not there. So I make a human, but... Oh, he has the he has the Mystic Repeal that he's probably been sitting on for a while, I would guess. So now he gets to kill both my Soul Warden and my Heliod. That's kind of brutal. Not really expecting that to play out that way. At least his life total is pretty low, but he also has a Lurus going, so he can just attack with lifelink, and he has the chump blocker coming back every turn. So honestly, I'm not super thrilled about this position. I really am not. Play a Trail of Crumbs too, so yeah, now the card adventures is gonna start rolling in as well, and I'm feeling that I might lose my grip on this game, because like now I don't have a lifelinker. Kenji has done a very good job of stopping that. I do draw another Soul Warden here, so I can actually set up the same play I had before, of like saving it with a castle activation. I would just have to do that next turn. So I have to play Heliod now, and then next turn I can do the Soul Warden. And once again, we are in a position where I can play the Heliod and maybe bait him into... If he jump blocks with the Shambling Ghast here, for instance, I can just go Soul Warden, Voice of the Blast. So, I think that maybe that's what's going to happen here, if I just attack with both. But the issue is attacking with both is kind of sketchy. Maybe it's not that sketchy, actually. Because what could happen is that he would just like, he could sacrifice the Shambling Ghast to the squirrel, and then make like the apparition -1/-1, or make a treasure. Actually, that's better, and growing the squirrel again. Which is okay, right? Because that is actually exactly what I want to happen. So maybe I should have attacked with the apparition here. Because he doesn't have a good way to grow the squirrel without doing that, except if he has Deadly Dispute, which at this point I probably shouldn't be playing around. He would have cast it earlier. Attack with Trilacera is definitely a must. But if I also attack with the apparition, it kind of forces a block. I guess part of the issue if I... Yeah, part of the issue if I just like load out with Soul Warden and Voice of the Blast is if he has Meathook Massacre, but I don't think it's that bad, right? Because the Trilacera would survive. It would kill everything else, but the Trilacera would survive as a lethal threat. I guess it wouldn't be lethal anymore because you'd gain a bunch of life, but yeah, you know. Then I have like the castle providing pressure, and the Lurus would be gone, which is very huge. So... yeah, honestly, I think this is fine. And this means that the Shambling Ghast dies here. Oh, so now I actually have a line to just go Soul Warden and Voice of the Blast. Wait, what's the reason why I don't do this now? Because this is exactly what I wanted to happen. And he killed a token. He can Meathook Massacre for 5, maybe 6. The Trilacera would grow by 1. And like, since the Lurus can just bring back the Shambling Ghast, it's kind of hard for me to set up anything else. I honestly think that I am just supposed to go for it here, and if he has the Meathook Massacre, then so be it. I think I'm still in a pretty good spot because the Lurus would have died. I need to start getting this train rolling. Yeah, I think I'm misplaying here actually. But because I'm just passing. Oh man, there's so many of these games where I like go leave them and feel like I've been playing great and very patient, and then realize that, oh wait, I'm actually like doing things wrong. So it's kind of funny how I really wanted these videos to kind of like, you know, flex how well I played this weekend, but instead I'm just learning a ton. I think I'm seeing just too many bad scenarios here where I'm already a bit behind and I need things to go right. And I think passing here is just too reactive. I mean, I'm still trying to set up my thing. I'm just basically like trying to not get Heliod hit by a Meathook Massacre here. But I don't think it's too relevant. With Trinacera Scry, with Cauldron, I think it would be okay if I lost my Heliod and my entire board to a Meathook Massacre. As long as I also don't lose Trinacera. But anyway, I decided to play this very carefully. There is another reason though. If he attacks with the Apparition... Oh, by the way, there was another reason why I didn't attack with the Apparition on my turn. Is that I wanted to block the lifelink of Lurrus. So that he can't just keep gaining the life back here. And he does attack with the Lurrus, which I'm really happy to see now. Because now I can bait out the Shambling Ghast here. Oh, it does actually have Deadly Dispute. Maybe he just drew it, but... that's actually interesting. He didn't have it up earlier though. At some point. So I get to gain the life and get to scry a little bit. Maybe again paid out removal spell on Trilacera, though at this point it seems like it doesn't have it. And there's a Scurry Oak. Alright, so the Shambling Ghast is gone. He might not have the removal spell. It is very possible here that I can get there. Though I might still need to do some work around to still bait out the removal spell, but it is very possible that I can get there. I can smell someone cooking bacon nearby because my window's open. So, okay, I roll out my Voice of the Best and my Soul Warden. And actually, what I can do now is that I can even make an attack here, and maybe that forces him to kill something. Right, because this is a pretty big attack, and he could have to do a lot of jump blocking. Which he can, like the deck is very good at jumping things that aren't in the air. So I don't think he has removal, but just to make absolutely sure. I'm gonna roll in here first with an attack. And see exactly what he does. Goes to double jump, kind of as expected. Alright, so we get no damage, but we get to play Scurry Oak here, and yeah, that is actually really nice here. Well, I mean, it's just gonna combo, and he doesn't have the Fatal Push, so perfect. I was really nervous there, because he still has a Treasure Edge. He could have had it, but he did not. And these are like, honestly, like that emotion that I had in my face there, where, or in my voice, where I don't really like, I'm still like in game mode as I'm winning, where it's like, okay, resolve the Scurry Oak. Does he have it? He does not. That's really nice. That's good for me. Not really realizing that, oh wait, that's just literally the game win. Like I'm gonna have, you know, huge board of squirrels and voices and so on. And yeah, I did manage to get the combo off there. I think I played a little bit too passively for my own good though. And obviously Kenji got a bit unlucky to not hit the removals, because I don't think he drew a single Fatal Push this game, for instance. But also, it's kind of representative of how the matchup usually plays out. I think the dance around the Shambling Ghast was a weird wrench that their specific version threw in. But even then, like, the Shambling Ghast is pretty common. Definitely will be common going forward. So it's something you should be aware of when you're playing the deck. But anyhow, very happy to have taken out Kenji Tsumura. Starting off the day with a win, just great for my confidence boost. We are now 5-3, so I need to still go 5-2 in the last 7 rounds, but at least we're halfway towards the 10 wins that I really want for the weekend to requalify and put me in a great spot for the World Championship even. So definitely happy with this. Also, right now with 2-0 against the Golgari food deck, so that also feels pretty good. Like being a bit vindicated for thinking that it's a it's a good matchup. Which I mean, I'm still thinking that you're at least fine with the Helia deck, if not favored. All right. Well, keep in mind that I have a deck list and cyber guide in my comments or in my video description. And yeah, let's tune in to see how the rest of the day goes.